You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Cricket Podcast. I am Maxwell Brown. I'm driving today and I am joined by Jack Hope. How are you, Jack?
I'm really hungry.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah, I don't know why. I've been quite hungry all day. Had some aubergine for lunch. So not a particularly heavy meal.
Not enough carbs, not enough protein.
No, I'm thinking about getting a pizza for dinner.
Nice. Takeaway or
I haven't decided. We'll see. Let's see how the podcast goes. Get a few super chats in. Maybe I'll splash out, order myself a Papa John's. If not, then it'll be an Asda special.
Lovely. So today we are talking about 3 games of cricket and trying to fund Jack's dinner. Those 3 games of cricket, we have today's game between CSK and Delhi Capitals at the top of the table, and we'll be also going over yesterday's affairs between KKR and SRH, the very forgettable one, and RCB against the Comedy Kings. But before we do that, Jack, messages for the listeners?
There's a few messages that you need to know. One, you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at the Cricket Pod. We don't have a Facebook page, so we're currently unaffected by the outage of Facebook. But I guess you can't get us on Instagram. So for now, at the Cricket Pod on Twitter is what you need to know. We are also sponsored by Woodstock Cricket. I always forget the name of the website, but I'm sure if you Google that, it'll work. If you want like bonus stuff or money off, you don't get bonus stuff. TCP25 is the code for you, 25% off your cricket gear. I got loads of runs with my cricket bat. It's good. Top run scorer this year for I Don't Like Cricket Club.
He likes to remind us of this regularly.
Average 50 over 55. Basically, I'm Sachin Tendulkar of the North East London Cricket League. Except left-handed. Brian Lara of the North East London Cricket League.
Yeah.
I think is what I am. And patreon.com/the cricket pod to sign up as a Patreon and ask us questions, have little chats with us, get exclusive or get a little bit of exclusivity when we release stuff, or when we record stuff. We sometimes release it earlier there, and get yourself a hat if you're signed up to one of the higher levels. Which is good.
And
good.
Guaranteed question privileges.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing. Yes. We'll always ask your question, no matter how stupid or clever, I suppose.
No matter how difficult.
Which game are we doing first? Are we doing reverse order today, Max?
Yes, although I'm not 100% what you mean by is that reverse chronological order. So today's game first.
Yes.
Absolutely. Right. Well, let's get into it then. Top of the table clash between Delhi Capitals and the Chennai Super Kings, vying really for top 2 guarantee rights, and they were playing on the same strip apparently as they played last night between KKR and SRH. So we were all waiting to see whether the pitch was terrible, or whether SRH are terrible, or if it's a bit of both. And as things got underway, I think we thought it was the middle one, because Gaikwad and Faf got off to a pretty good start. I think it was like 24 runs of the first 2 overs, and we were thinking, it's an absolute road. What's wrong with the boys in orange? But very shortly after Faf decided not to hit a half tracker for 6, the wheels came off somewhat, and CSK were sort of struggling a little bit. They weren't going too slowly, but they weren't motoring along either. That was until Mahendra Singh Dhoni, fresh from his 6 hitting exploits to win their last game, for their last victory rather, decided that he was going to shunt himself back up the order again ahead of Jadeja and DJ Bravo. And what a decision it was, Jack. I've noted down a few things here that were better to watch / faster to watch than Dhoni's innings. So we've got the melting ice caps.
More destructive, that one. Yeah. Definitely more destructive.
Yeah. Continental drift.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a lot quicker. Paint drying, obviously.
Paint dry, that's a classic.
That's a classic. A few things to prefer than that innings. You likened it to your drunken granddad trying to dance.
I'd go a little bit further than that. I said drunken granddad at a wedding trying to dance.
Right.
Everyone's seen the senior citizens getting their boogie on at a wedding, and it doesn't look good. I'd go a little bit further. I'd say a drunken granddad at a wedding he wasn't invited to.
Oh, okay.
Trying to dance. Why he was in the position he was in, nobody really knows. Does he know? Probably not.
This just sort of wandered out.
It was, and it was quite unedifying. Really, wasn't it?
Well, what did he get in the end? What was his score? 18 off 27.
Yeah, it's what we call in the punditry business a bad innings. Match losing potentially. No boundaries. Didn't hit a single boundary in that time. I mean, like the thing with Dhoni, as his career has developed, or not until this season anyway, the thing that he had sort of maintained was his ability to hit quite a lot of sixes. Even as some of the other batting talent faded, he was still able to clear the ropes quite frequently. It looked like he was batting with a plastic bat. He didn't really at any point threaten to put one in the stands. Say what you will about this pitch, but other players, did manage to do that. We saw some other sixes.
Yeah.
It wasn't necessarily as impossible as I think he made it look.
Absolutely. One of those guys was Ryudu, wasn't it, who dug him out of a bit of a hole. It's a
huge opportunity cost as well, isn't it? Of putting Dhoni in that early in the innings, or at that point in the innings, with so long to play, and then him going out. And
it was the ninth over. He batted for 10 overs and did nothing.
So your opportunity cost is basically that you don't use Jadeja, who is having a phenomenal season. He faced what did Jadeja face? 2 balls. You're arguably your best hitter has faced 2 balls because of this decision. That's to say nothing of DJ Bravo as well, who is a pretty capable ball striker. And I'm less hot on Shardul Thakur as a T20 batter than I think some people are. I don't think he's necessarily that good at it, but he can swing the willow. And basically, Dhoni came in and clogged it all up, didn't he? It was
Well, I mean,
catastrophic innings.
Jadeja is striking at 159 this IPL.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's your comparison point. I mean, is it the same reason as last time? Is Dhoni just going out to try and get a bit of experience in the middle and see if he can still do it? I mean, what's going on?
I mean, it's possible, isn't it? I mean, it's you look at the table, even like right now. CSK, they have won 9 of their 13 matches, and their net run rate is plus 0.73. The only team that can get to 9 wins, besides Delhi, who obviously, they're on 10 now, it is RCB, who've won 8. So if RCB, actually no, that means that RCB can get to 10. So I've done my maths wrong. Maybe what I was going to say is
Tony's done his maths wrong.
Maybe he has. What I was going to say is that maybe CSK are so confident that they will finish in the top 2 that they are, letting anyone who wants some get a little bit of batting practice. But they've lost 2 in a row now. They're not top. They're not guaranteed top 2 anymore. It's in the IPL. It is definitely worth being in the top 2 because you get 2 bites at getting to the final. And maybe RCB will overtake them. It's just odd, just an odd decision, I thought. What I did like was somebody calling him Dhoni-saurus on Twitter. So silver linings from a CSK point of view. Might not have got the win. Dhoni might be, dancing at one wedding disco too many this season. But we did get the nickname Dhoni-saurus, and we're not going to let that one go, are we? If only we'd come up with it, or if only someone had suggested it to us sooner.
Yeah. I mean, who suggested it? Was it someone with a large number of followers, or can we just take all the credit?
No, someone replied. So I sent a tweet saying, "Is this what watching dinosaurs going extinct was like?" Yeah, and somebody replied Dhoni-saurus, which is very clever.
Okay, yeah,
but it was,
Dhoni-saurus. We'll use that.
It was pretty sad. It's there, it looked like, I mean, boxing is always a comparison people use, isn't it? Or the metaphor that people use in these situations. Like Muhammad Ali boxing on into his 40s, or who was the bloke who came out of
Evander
retirement
Holyfield.
recently? Yeah, and got beaten up.
That was bad.
People always say it just looks bad, and
tragic.
And that's sort of what's happening with Dhoni. People remember how good he was, and maybe he's at risk of tarnishing some of his own legacy, particularly with the bat playing like that. I mean, I think the fact that CSK are going to make the playoffs and he's captained them very well balances it out slightly, but they're effectively playing with 10 men with him in the lineup, or less than. He would have been better off getting a golden duck and letting Jadeja come in, I think, today.
I mean, what I would say, I suppose, in his defence, is that last season we were laughing at him for not coming in and finishing innings off and not taking the lead and running away from the limelight. Now he's stepping up and trying to be the man and not doing it, but at least he's giving it a go.
Yes. Well, but he's not really giving it a go, is he? Is the point? I mean, like, no. He's scoring.
Didn't really try to hit a six today, did he?
No. And that's so. What's the point?
Yeah.
What are you achieving?
And I mean, for me, really, the other thing with that move of bringing Dhoni up to bat with Rayudu, and probably what actually cost them the game as much as anything, was, I mean, I don't remember a single two being run between them. It was tap it out to the boundary and trot for one, and there was so much of that. When there were definitely opportunities there with the ball. The boundaries they're not the longest in the world, but they're by no means the shortest. If you don't hit the ball straight to the fielder on the boundary and you don't hit it that hard, there's always a chance to at least push and threaten the second run. And they didn't do that once between them. No, they just trotted between the two.
Yeah.
That's like 5-10 runs that they left out there that would have won them the game.
Well, it certainly would have given them a chance. I think I always like to look at the boundary counting in these games. I think that gives the fairest reflection in terms of who probably should have won and who played the best cricket. Yeah. And it's 16-12 to Delhi. So Delhi hit 16 boundaries. Chennai hit 12. So obviously they were running some runs. I think it's the lack of intent against mainly the spinners, the two spinners, and the lack of ambition in general from Dhoni in those middle overs that's probably costing this game. That and the fact that you leave one of your best batters on the bench effectively. You hijack yourself. I mean, imagine it doesn't work like this, does it? But imagine if Jadeja had faced 20 balls today, what score they'd have got. There's nothing to say that they'd have got 150 probably, wouldn't they?
I think so.
He
only would have needed to go a run a ball to push, like they'd have been on 145.
Yeah. So a bit of a fuck up, I think, from Chennai Super Kings with their batting order. The Delhi bowled all right though, I thought. Particularly the two spinners. Yes,
I mean the first couple of wickets were, Axar's first wicket was a bad shot, wasn't it? It should have gone.
Oh, that should have gone out. That should be in the in the gulf of whatever it is.
To follow that up, there was Ashwin's Karen ball that completely befuddled Robin Uthappa. That was thoroughly enjoyable.
Yeah, that was a great delivery from Ashwin, complete with like a little bit of bowler keeper confusion as Rishabh Pant started to run to come and catch it, and then decided stopped. He couldn't be bothered to run 20 yards in 5 seconds or whatever it was to get underneath it. So Ashwin literally had time to watch the ball go up in the air, look at Pant as though you're going to come over here and catch this, mate. Yeah. Then catch it, and it happened about that cadence as well.
And then really completed it with some evils for Pant at the end.
Yeah, it really leathered it. Ashwin bowled well. We were a little bit critical of him on the last podcast and asking why he is in the Indian T20 team for the World Cup. I'd still probably stand by that. But you did see today what his experience and his variation can do on a slightly useful wicket, shall we say? It wasn't the easiest pitch to play against spin on. And Akshar Patel got a couple of balls to really rag.
Yeah, there was one that he
off
pitched,
a length.
Yeah, one that he pitched on a length that nearly took Pant's head off.
Yeah,
it was.
Yeah, if the World Cup wickets are like these, which they may well be, then the prognosis is pretty good for India and their 14 spinners, isn't it? It's
they should have picked a couple more.
Anything else from this innings before we flip over?
No, not really. I think I think you've covered it pretty well. Nortje again was quick, but at this time actually went for runs. That seems like
it was a shocking first over.
It was a shocking first over. Not as bad as Deepak Chahar getting marmalised, but it did seem a little bit like pace on the ball was the easier way of scoring runs today. Any sort of generation of pace with the bat was difficult, wasn't it?
Yes, it definitely was. One thing I'll say, just reflecting back on that Delhi innings in particular, is that they're a really lucky team. They didn't play good cricket today, Delhi. Apart from those two spinners, almost everything they did was quite poor, I thought. And yet they've come out of this game with a win. I just we've said this a few times on the podcast as well. I just don't really see that there is as good a team as their record suggests. 10 wins, 3 losses. I think they're probably the third best team in this tournament, and they got away with quite a lot on their way to victory with the bat. Where do we want to start?
Well, we might as well start with the power play. Start with the beginning, where they. Well, I mean, is it fair to say that at the start of the game is probably where they got the leg up in the end?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, what did Delhi do well consistently or what have they done well consistently in this IPL? Well, the number one thing is that their openers have been aggressive from the start and have cashed in big time during the power plays and beyond. And we definitely saw that again today. I mean, Prithvi Shaw's 18 from 12. It's not the world's best score, but it took a lot of the pressure off or innings like that take a lot of pressure off other players later in the order when you're chasing quite a pedestrian target. Shikhar Dhawan, I think, at one point in the power play had about 25 off 12 balls or something like that.
Well, he really hit 21 off 1 over.
Yeah, he really flew out of the trap. So who is it he took down?
Deepak Chahar.
Deepak Chahar. It was excellent batting against one of the best bowlers in this tournament so far. Deepak Chahar has been absolutely dominant in the power play. His figures today: 3 overs, 34 runs, 1 wicket. He got schooled by Dhawan and Shaw up front there. And I think by the time they're out, the game is so far in Delhi's favour that even though they do everything wrong from that point, they still kind of get away with it. So kind of a little bit of a strange team, Delhi, I think, but
but
lucky today. And they have got good openers.
we should applaud that intent in the power play. I mean, we talk about it a lot and that it's the right way to go, but it's even more the right way to go when you're playing on pitches like this when it does slow up, because you have to cash in when the fielders aren't on the boundary. Because if you can't time the ball properly, the majority of the wickets are you not clearing the ropes. And if there are 3 fewer people on the boundary at the start of the game than there are on the rest of it, then you just got to go for it, haven't you? And I think there are a couple that Prithvi Shaw showed that where he'd spooned it up in the air a bit, but it fell safe. Where later in the innings they go to hand. So that's kind of the key thing on these slow scoring pitches. You got to get a good start and then hope.
Well, yeah, I mean they did. I mean after I think what was it before the end of the power play, it was less than a run a ball for the rest of the innings, and even though they do have a huge wobble in the middle, it meant that they still had a good chance towards the end. I mean, there's a couple of people in the chat saying that we really don't like Delhi for some reason, but I think there's some justification to say that their batting order, particularly if they line up like this, isn't actually that good in comparison to, I don't know, RCBs or even Chennai's, as long as they don't do Dhoni.
Chennai, you've got Thacker coming in at 9, which is pretty useful. And
but you also have some really dynamic players in there. You've got Rayudu, you've got Moeen Ali, you have Jadeja. Bravo can do a job. I think if you compare them to this Delhi side, Shreyas Iyer, it just doesn't excite me in T20 cricket. Rishabh Pant, I don't know what's going on with him. He's having one of his aneurysm spells, isn't he? Where everything he does seems to be the wrong decision with the bat. Captaining
even picking a bat. He even got that wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Ripple Patel, I was quite interested to see him. He's got a pretty fearsome strike rate in Syed Mushtaq Ali cricket, albeit in like 10 games. So he's like a 26-year-old that's sort of come from nowhere a little bit. I think he's played 10 matches in the Syed Mushtaq Ali. Has a strike rate, I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was like well in excess of 150, I think. And so I was looking forward to seeing him. I wonder whether the occasion got to him a little bit, or the pitch was just not.
Yeah, probably not not the day, is it, for it?
He didn't look like a 150 plus batter on this occasion. But then they do some weird stuff, Delhi, and this is this is not good thinking here. They send in at 6 Ravi Ashwin, presumably just to continue the left-right combo thing that they had going on. Now, sorry, no matter how highly you value left-hand, right-hand batting combos as a tactic, you have to factor in the relative ability of the players that you're sending to the middle.
Yeah,
it's absolute lunacy that they send Ravi Ashwin out instead of Shimron Hetmeyer.
Yeah. And I think Dan and I were talking about something similar the other day, and I can't remember what game it was, but there was another strange decision to send someone in up the order, and we thought the only thing we could think of was to keep the left-hand, right-hand combination, and we said exactly the same thing. It's like, it's all very well trying to get the marginal impact, but when the major impact is the fact that you can send in a batsman or you can send in Ravi Ashwin, you just have to go with the one that's logical, Yeah,
100%. I mean, it's if you just look at the raw numbers. So somebody said on Twitter to when we questioned this, somebody replied something along the lines of, well, in the last game, Hetmeyer got out playing a stupid shot and Ashwin helped guide Delhi home. Now, that is fair enough. That did happen in the past. But if you want to judge players based on past performance, maybe look at the whole piece. Hetmeyer, his batting average is more than double Ashwin's, more than double, and his strike rate is like 40 over Ashwin's. He's so clearly a better T20 player and a better player to have in that situation, or frankly any situation at all, than Ashwin. That you have to ask, like, who's actually making that call? Is it Ponting? Is it Pant? What are they doing there? And one of the things that we talk about on this show quite regularly is like what makes a good team and what makes a bad team. Bad teams make mistakes, and that is a mistake. And this kind of mistake is why I just don't really rate Delhi's batting in particular that highly. Because if you're assessing Ravi Ashwin and Shimron Hetmeyer and assessing that Ravi Ashwin is going to be a better call for you, then you're an idiot.
Well, if it's any comfort, Jack, when people misbehave, their misdeeds are usually punished, and in this case, the Lord saw fit to strike down the ne'er-do-wells with an over of 2 wickets for 1 run.
I think you mean God Shardul Thakur.
God Shardul Thakur. He's
gone
up a level
to strength. It's one of the greatest stories in cricket history, I think, at this point. Just Shardul Thakur. We used to say, obviously Lord Shardul Thakur is a very tongue-in-cheek reference, a little bit like Sir Ravi Ashwin, or Sir Jadeja. Sorry, not Sir Ravi Ashwin. Sir Jadeja. it started as a tongue-in-cheek thing, and now it's starting to become unironic, isn't it?
Yeah.
He is playing cricket at a level that transcends the sport. It's phenomenal stuff. His last 5 matches have yielded for him here 9 wickets. He's had one. He had one game at Sharjah where it didn't go to plan, but the most he's conceded otherwise is 30. Now, if you're returning like two wickets a game approximately, and your economy is sub 8, then you're a very good T20 bowler. And I think we have to say that at the moment, Shardul Thakur is basically that. And I almost can't believe I'm saying it, Max.
I sort of can't believe you said it either, but I'll take it. I like to see Thakur doing well, just for the pure reason of yes, us having to eat our words or whatever. Someone I think said just in the chat that Thakur saw us compare him to Sankara and decided enough is enough. Which is a nice narrative for that. And someone also, apparently Pant did say that they sent Ashwin up to in the post-match to keep the left-hand, right-hand combination, but they only kept it for 3 balls, didn't they? So it didn't really work very well. And in the end, they ended up with 3 left-handers in a row and won the game. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's... Yeah, I in some very distinct situations... there are some situations in cricket where if you have like 2 equally good batters, one's left hand, one right hand, then you should send in one or the other based on who's bowling for the other team. But even if you're like going hyper down that sabermetric analytic style of thinking, and you think that you might be able to moneyball up some kind of an advantage here, you even have to factor in who's bowling for the other team. It's Moeen Ali. It's not Muralitharan, is it? Moeen Ali's quite a good off spinner to left-handers. He's not Ravi Ashwin. He's not. Yeah, you know what I mean. It's not a situation that I think you need to be terrified of. Shimron Hetmeyer batting against Moeen Ali. The expected outcome there is probably some runs for Shimron Hetmeyer most of the time. Moeen Ali, he doesn't have amazing control over line and length. He doesn't have an arm ball. He doesn't have a carom ball. He's going to throw it out there. He spins the ball quite a lot, and he really does give the ball a rip. And he can conjure up a magic ball. Ask Virat Kohli. But I don't know if you need to be. I don't think sometimes you don't need to think that hard in cricket, and this was one of those situations.
Yeah, that's it.
You've got your star overseas player sitting there waiting to go out and bat, and you're sending in a man who averages 11.
Also, this is at a point where suddenly the rate is getting quite high, the asking rate.
Yes,
suddenly they needed like 30 off 20, and it was you kind of need someone to come in and
the solution is a
it.
Man who strikes at 109 in the IPL.
It was questionable. And also, to add to the thing like Moeen Ali is he's a decent off spinner, but I think like you said, not Muralitharan. Jadeja's quite good against left-handers anyway. He got Pant, so
yes.
it's not like you're negating that impact either. But there's DC did win the game in the end, and Shimron Hetmeyer did come in and hit 28 off 18, but he almost very nearly didn't win the game.
Yes.
Because someone decided to throw the ball for 4.
Well, who was the bloke who came on?
It was Gautam.
Yeah. Not your finest moment there. This is what I mean. Delhi, if you're a Delhi fan, go out and buy yourself a lottery ticket. That you never see that dropped in the IPL. Never. It's hit flat straight to him. He's probably practices that catch 100 times a day. You never ever see it dropped. Let alone drop for 4 as well. It was like insult to injury. He barely lays a glove on it. Goes straight through 4 runs.
Subfielder as well. So presumably, bringing on a subfielder at that stage of the game because they can catch, especially if you're going to go and stick them at long on. That's a position that is like reserved in the RCB team for AB de Villiers because he literally catches everything.
Well, yeah, or for this CSK side, it was interesting that Duplessis and Jadeja weren't there Now, one of the things we give Dhoni a lot of credit for, or we have historically given Dhoni a lot of credit for, is how he manages his elite fielders. Like they
always seem to be where the ball goes.
Top the catch lists every year in the IPL. Like I had a look at this. Like, one of them is at the top, going back quite a few years, because Dhoni puts them under the ball. Like he manages where his elite fielder is very well. Doesn't take that risk that the sub's going to throw it for 4 runs, because it goes to Jadeja and he catches it one-handed. Then he does a sword action, like or whatever. You know what I mean? It was odd. It was maybe a little bit of a mistake there, and I think it probably may have cost them the game. Then just after that, they missed the run out of what's his name? I completely. I am hungry. I've Hetmeyer. The ball's fielded at mid wicket when Akshar's batting. The fielder turns and throws 10 yards away, misses the stumps, and that is in T20 you do. I mean, like it is a game with a reasonable luck input, shall we say? Like a lot of games are decided by very small individual moments that go one way or the other, and Delhi had 2 that went their way there. I also thought, and I can't really bother to argue about this in loads of detail, but I also thought that Pant should have been given out. I think if
no,
you don't think it was out?
No.
Right. So here's what I think about this. I've read the rule. He isn't running, is he? He's falling over, and he isn't diving. He's just fallen over, and his bat isn't in the crease. He should be given out.
I don't think that's what the rule's trying to get at, Jack. Somehow,
but
I think what they're trying to fix is the bit where the bat goes in and then bounces up.
But it doesn't bounce up because he's so far out and he's fallen over because he's made a huge mistake and been tricked by Jadeja. Jadeja bowled a really good ball, and Dhoni did the work behind the stumps.
Yeah,
that
was a good bit of cricket.
Pant falls over, reaches out with his bat, doesn't dive. He's not diving. He's just sitting on his arse. Puts his bat in, then his bat comes out of the crease. That's out. You're out stumped. You're not in your crease. Like I thought it was. I can appreciate there is a.
I think it falls into the category of diving. He was just diving from a seated position.
He isn't diving. He's reaching to try and get back in because he's going to be out stumped. A dive is when you run Superman style. You reach out with your arm, and your momentum takes you in a direction. You don't. If someone lined up at the Olympics, got on the high board, and they did that, you'd say they fell in the pool. You wouldn't say that's a dive.
Yeah,
they probably get another go.
I think you're taking the diving and running aspect of the rule a little too literally, and I think maybe you
have to take it literally. The stumping rule says you have to have something grounded, either your bat or your body, behind the crease at the point when the bails are knocked off. He didn't do that. He was out of his crease.
Well, no,
what's the logical extension of
this? The rule,
as long as you start in your crease, then
the rule is
you can't be out stumped.
The rule is talking about what constitutes being in or out of your ground, and that's how the stumping and run out rules both work. So I think it's just how it's supposed to be.
People are saying read the rule. Well, someone's saying read the rules. You read it. He didn't dive and he wasn't running. He should have been out. It was bad batting and he deserved to be punished.
Yeah.
They should correct.
Make
the language clearer.
There was a genuinely
can't do that.
There was a genuinely incorrect bit of umpiring at the very end when Dwayne Bravo bowled the ball not on the cut strip.
Yeah. No, I mean in fairness, that was that was a no ball. I don't understand because he did half.
He even gave it. He gave a no ball and then said wide. I don't know what that was about, but yeah, never mind. Didn't matter because DC did win the game in the end and secured their place at the top, 2 points clear of CSK. So in pretty good shape, I think, for top 2. Don't think they'll be dropping out of there. Do you?
No, I don't think so. I mean, look, I'm not super hot on Delhi as the world's best T20 cricket team. I think they're a team in my mind that should finish with an 8-6 record. They're easily good enough to be in the playoff compared to some of the other showers in this tournament, but they're not. I just don't think they're a particularly exciting T20 side. But they're probably going to win it now, aren't they? prove me wrong. But
Yeah. Well, you don't have to be exciting to win, Jack. We've
no,
seen
you
that.
don't.
We've seen that throughout the years.
Yeah, in all sport, yeah. I think they're very reliant on Darwan and Shaw, with the bat. But
but at the same time, that's how we say you should approach the game of T20 cricket. So can't get into them too much for that.
Is there anything else we want to talk about for this game? So we got the other two to talk about. I'm just going to tell anyone in the who's listening now. If you're expecting deep analysis of Sunrisers Hyderabad, that's not going to happen. Fucking hell, they're the limit. The only other note I've got down is that Hazelwood went round the park again when it mattered. Which
he's also surprisingly unagile when it comes to fielding. Is he way taller than he looks? Because he takes so long to get down to the floor.
Yes, it's very
laboured. It's like the felling of a tree.
It is. He is tree-like.
Yeah.
He seems like a nice guy. Don't want to hose him too much, but I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we might
I'm
see.
Not buying that.
We might see Ngidi back in. They might mix things up for the last game or so.
He isn't very good either. And neither is Sam Curran.
Is there anyone you do?
They have got a bit of a problem. Is there anyone I do like? What in players? I like Jadeja.
Yeah, well,
play him
correct.
Twice.
Yeah, clone Jadeja. Just play 11 Jadejas. 11 Jadejas would beat anyone in the IPL. Guaranteed.
Right. If you're watching on YouTube, we started with a very small audience of diehards. The problem is, Max, I think on this, and maybe our listeners will agree, is that we aren't very clear when we're actually going to do one of these podcasts. No, we don't announce a schedule in advance. Sometimes we'll do it every day. Sometimes we'll go 3 days without doing one.
Yeah, well, life gets in the way sometimes.
It does. Yeah, Ross is in Seville. That doesn't help. Dan Weston's travelling, so we've got no backup there. Anyway, the point is, hit subscribe, put some comments in the chat. I don't think we've got many questions on Twitter, and I forgot to ask on Patreon. So if you've got any questions, we've probably got time for some YouTube questions. Help buy me a pizza by contributing a super chat, and most of all, hit subscribe, and then second most of all, tell all your friends to hit subscribe too. We're on the road to 10k subscribers, and that road is longer than we thought it would be, and windier. We started this drive 200 subscribers.
Well, the problem is it's much like all the smart motorways in the UK, and they've inexplicably got 50-mile-an-hour speed limits, so we're just going a bit slower than we anticipated.
Yeah.
Right. Yes, Pratchett, yes, WhatsApp is down. Jack and I had to converse with each other through Twitter messaging earlier, which was quite Inception-like, because I was messaging myself, basically.
Were you?
Well, because I've got the notifications set up from the Cricket Pod Twitter and my own Twitter. I was sending a message from one and then getting it from the other one, and it was all very confusing.
I see. Yeah, no, I do see what you mean there.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, WhatsApp's down. That's good, isn't it? Well, maybe it's bad. Maybe there'd be thousands of people here now because everyone would be WhatsApping each other and saying,
"Cricket Pod are on. Get your friends around the TV."
Maybe that explains it.
We'll go with it.
Right. Are we going to talk about yesterday's cricket matches?
Yeah,
we said we were going to do this in reverse order, didn't we? How little time do you reckon we can spend on this Sunrisers game?
Should we give it a go?
Yeah, right. So Sunrisers batted first. They got 115 for 8. Humiliated themselves again. They're a complete joke. People should resign. They should be relegated. They shouldn't be playing in an elite level T20 tournament. Kolkata Knight Riders chased it down for the loss of 4 wickets. Shubman Gill, the only bad thing about the whole performance is that Shubman Gill didn't do it quicker and end our misery. This didn't need to take 19.4 overs.
Is it Shubman Gill's fault or is it Nitish Rana's fault?
Let's share the blame. It was a fairly professional performance from Kolkata Knight Riders, who beat a team that are very bad. With minimal fuss, and not an awful lot of risk. Any observations from you?
Yes, I would like to once again say well done to Abdul Samad, who I think is the one ray of sunshine in the Hyderabad team. because he's done well over the last few games. In a sort of position of everything collapsing around him, he's actually come in and done some nice lower order hitting of sixes, which is his job. Unfortunately, like putting the cherry on top of a cake that's already been squashed and trodden on and flattened and burned isn't much use. But maybe next year when the mega auction comes around, someone more befitting of his talents will come and pick him up, and he'll come good for them.
They'll probably retain him and leave him in purgatory, won't they? Although, I mean, I wouldn't be stunned if they retained Kane Williamson and Warner or something like that. It has been pointed out. It has been pointed out on Sunrisers Hyderabad, on the Sunrisers Hyderabad front, that it is a little bit unlucky from their point of view that Bhuvneshwar Kumar, David Warner, Kane Williamson, Manish Pandey are all having their worst IPL seasons all at the same time, and you could possibly lump Ridham and Saha into this, although I haven't done as deep an investigation of his prior record. If 4 of your mainstays are having an absolute catastrophe of a year, it can be quite difficult. I think they've sort of doubled down on the idiocy front, though, by some extremely poor recruiting this year.
Oh, yeah,
and also,
I mean, that was mad.
Tactically mind-boggling decision making when it comes to what they do in game as well. But there's a little bit of mitigation there from a brain trust point of view that you probably would normally expect a bit more production out of some of those players.
Yeah, I mean, I do want to see the showdown between Tom Moody and Dan Weston. That needs to happen.
Well, it happened, didn't it? The Oval Invincibles v Birmingham Phoenix. And Birmingham Phoenix, they chased down 170 or something in 100 balls.
Yeah. I mean, on here, like a nice argument. Heated.
Well, yeah. Look, Tom Moody, if you're watching, there's the invite is there. If anyone knows Tom Moody, I suspect he probably wouldn't show up. But yes. Anything else on this game? Oh, people will always say when we talk about KKR, we don't say Owen Morgan's bad. We do, and he is.
Yeah. So we spent quite a lot of time talking about Owen Morgan being bad. We just
want to be absolutely. I mean, look, I think let's positives from this game, from KKR's point of view, bowled really well, rolled back the years to some extent. Tim Southey, Shakib Al Hassan, Sunil Narayan, all combining.
Actually, they picked the right team today, didn't they? Yesterday rather. We should point that out, because in the last game with KKR, we were I think it was with either it was Ross and I or Dan and I.
They had Tim Seifert, yeah. Yeah,
we were just wondering why they decided to replace an all-rounder with Tim Seifert and have 2 wicket keepers, and they finally, very quickly realised that was a terrible idea and picked Shakib Al Hassan like they should have done in the first place.
Shakib actually had a decent game as well.
Yeah, bowled well.
Yeah. I'm just looking at some of this though. I mean, Sunil Narayan was being hit into the car park in the last game. 4 overs, 12. 12 runs off him. That's shameful. You're playing the ghost of Sunil Narayan basically, and you're you're absolutely terrified of him. You're doing a Shane. Have you heard the story about Shane Watson and ghosts?
No.
Oh, when on an Ashes tour, the Australian team was staying in a castle in Durham. And someone told Shane Watson that it was haunted, and Shane Watson heard something in the night. And so he left his bedroom and he went and slept. I think he went and slept in Chris Rogers' room because he was
scared of the ghost.
Scared of the ghost. Yeah.
Is that where his LBW problem started?
Possibly. I don't know. You'd have to ask him. That's Shane Watson. That's the end of that game. Honestly, I can't be bothered to go through them all and say how bad they are again. KKR, I'm looking forward to their final match against Rajasthan.
Well, they're looking
going to be a
good for the
real
playoffs
ding dong.
now, aren't they?
It is, yeah. So it's that they've got one game to play.
That
If
was
they
the
win,
key thing.
if they win, they're virtually guaranteed. Well, I think they no. So Mumbai could, in theory,
Yeah,
win two
Mumbai
matches
can,
with a
yeah.
huge net run rate.
Yeah,
But
it would need a big swing.
yeah, if KKR beat Rajasthan, they eliminate them. Punjab can't catch them, so it's just Mumbai that could catch them, and they'd need a huge net run rate swing. It's in their hands, and in the second half of this tournament, they played really exciting cricket. So good work them. That's going to be a thrilling match, I think, between those two sides. And then the final game we're going to talk about is yesterday morning's affair at Sharjah between Royal Challengers Bangalore and the Punjab Kings. Max, what happened?
For all the action that didn't happen in the game between SRH and KKR, there was plenty of it in the game between RCB and Punjab Kings. Firstly, how many chances did KL Rahul have to get Kohli and Padikkal out in the first 8 overs or so? I think he dropped at least 2 off Chahal, and then when he did actually catch one, inexplicably, after reviewing it, and the Ultra Edge said that there was, that he gloved it, they decided that he didn't glove it. I mean,
that was shocking.
Can we pick the bones out of that?
I don't have a lot of time for KL Rahul, a man who calls himself King Legend and wears number 1. But I did actually feel sorry for him.
Well, you have to, don't you? It was a good touch as well. It was a really good take. Anticipated
the team's life
shot.
You take a catch behind the subs off the face of the bat, get rid of the danger man on the other side, and some plank with plank with an earpiece can't see the obvious spike. It's a shocker.
I mean,
it's a real shocker.
What did they?
And it's cost them a chance of qualifying.
What did he think
or
happened?
Potentially cost them.
The ball is next to the glove. There's a spike. I don't. It's like you weren't there. You didn't see it, and you probably, I don't know if you've seen it yet. The catch. Maybe it was karma for KL Rahul being given not out the other day with was it Tripathi on running in from the boundary and the catch where the ball just went into his hands and they said it was not out. So yeah, maybe it's that. What goes around comes around. IPL net karma.
Someone in the chat, this has piqued my interest quickly, said there's a 21-year-old Umran Malik who's bowling 151 kph in, I guess, the PSL. That's good. I don't know, I haven't seen it, but that's fast. Anyway, back to this match.
Umran Malik was SRH.
Oh, was he? Oh, sorry. So I've just assumed that was happening in a completely different league. Cool. I can't watch Sunrise.
Well, that's exciting, isn't it? Anyway, when they asked Norkia about bowling 150, it was like, nah, just try and bowl. Yeah. That was So if he's bowling that quickly now, let's look forward to that.
Probably bowling 180. No, rate of progression. He's nearly 22, so maybe not.
Yeah. Anyway, back to RCB Punjab. Eventually, Kohli and Padikkal were out, and that was because of Moises Enriquez. I mean, as if things didn't get, weird enough. Suddenly, he became really good. Because we always question his inclusion, why they even picked him. Sort of your kind of bang average Australian all-rounder who's been picked on the back of the fact that he's played in the BBL a lot. And here he comes and turns up. Was it 3 for 12 he took in the end? Removing the top 3?
Overall, it has been a very weird 3 games in the IPL. The game today, Dhoni getting 18 off 27 at the death. Then Gautam throwing the ball for 4. Bravo bowling off the pitch. Sunrisers Hyderabad in general are absolutely bizarre, aren't they? Every time you watch them play, it's a circus. There's a guy I thought was in the PSL bowling 150 Ks in the IPL. That's crazy. Yeah, there's umpiring clangers left, right, and centre, and Moises Henriquez is good. It's global warming. That's all I can think.
Yeah.
It's changed the climate, and I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, Bargav has very correctly said in the chat that Moises Enriquez essentially got the wickets that Bishnoi was supposed to get. Bishnoi's figures are very unfair. The way he bowled against the top three, he ended up with 0 for 35 with his 4, but should have had at least 2 wickets, probably 3. But never mind. We like Bishnoi. We know he's good, and I think is he one of the guys you like, Jack? Does he get along with Jadeja into your?
So a few people have asked this to do an IPL team of players we like. We can do that on this show.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that at the end.
Yeah.
The other thing to mention from that little blast of Enrique's was Dan Christian coming in at 3. What's that all about?
Oh my God. I mean, we're talking, aren't we? About we were talking earlier on the show about the Ashwin decision.
Yeah,
this isn't far away in terms of.
I think it's worse.
Doing dumb shit. What are you hoping that Dan Christian is going to achieve? Why is he even in the team? Let's start with that. If your plan, which it must have been, if your plan is to use Dan Christian as a number 3, and not really bowl him, why not? You know, pick one of the other overseas players you've got to fulfill that role. I mean, I think Kyle Jamieson would have been a better bet at number 3. If what you think you need is an overseas player,
if you get out
number 3,
if you get out first ball, literally anyone would have been a better bet.
But it's not like it's not like he's got this body of work that is supporting this decision. It's a bad decision to do that, to make Dan Christian your number 3, and you got quite close to the expected outcome. I mean, you probably don't think he's going to get a golden duck, to be fair, but he's not. He's not in the nicest possible way. He's not good at cricket.
Tim David should have been
Tim
David,
like some of these other guys. Yeah. So why? I mean, it really perplexes me, some of these things they do. Anyway, as it happens, it probably worked out quite well for them, because another one of the candidates they could have sent in this position ends up going in probably when they should have gone in anyway, and wins them the game by absolutely tonking the ball onto a motorway about 7 times.
I mean, the big show was a big fish in. It wasn't a small pond; it was a big fish in a paddling pool. Because he just went nuts, didn't he? And absolutely creamed everyone. And it's really nice to see Glenn Maxwell do that. It's very enjoyable, and nice to see him back as well after his. He's put the spectre of IPL in the UAE to bed, hasn't he? In the last few games,
Oh, 100%.
He didn't hit a 6 last time out, and
yeah, but he was playing for Punjab. He probably. I don't know, maybe he doesn't like KL Rahul either. He was just like, I'm going to torpedo this outfit. I'm going to take £1 million for the trouble.
I like it. Subterfuge. That's a good narrative. We'll go with it.
It is. It was. I mean, I would go as far as saying this Glenn Maxwell innings was in the top 5 knocks in this year IPL. It wasn't. It's not an awful pitch.
Yeah.
No, sorry. The Sharjah is not an awful place to play T20 cricket when the pitch is bad, because the boundaries are so short that you should, if you take some risks, should still be able to get a decent score. But it wasn't an easy pitch to play on, and the sweetness with which Glenn Maxwell was timing the ball, was
too big for the stadium.
Was pretty astonishing, and he was smoking it. I thought, what did I think? Say something. I've forgotten what I was going to say.
Again, having AB de Villiers coming in at 5 is quite nice as well, isn't it?
That's what I was going to say. I've remembered now. I did think overall it was a slightly strange innings from RCB, in that they got to the 18th over and they were in the 140s just for the loss of just 3 wickets. And I think they lose 3. I think they lost 3 wickets in the final over.
Yes,
I think Shami picked up 3 wickets in the final overs. It was kind of a weirdly paced innings. I thought. I wonder whether maybe they left just a few runs out there. At
I
different
think
points.
they probably did, and I think the evidence of them leaving a few runs out there is the fact that Punjab nearly chased it down, despite KL Rahul taking 35 balls to score 39.
Well, yeah, I mean, we got a real montage of Virat Kohli and KL Rahul.
Doing what we malign them for.
Yeah, basically, it was taking up a lot of time to not really go anywhere, pad their stats. Like I said on the last show where we talked about KL Rahul, I'm not 100% sure that he's aware that the IPL is a competition between different teams and the objective is to win as a side. I think he thinks it's a competition to win an orange hat.
He's very good at that.
Yeah, he's very good at winning the orange hat, but it's not. I don't know.
And in fairness, his 6-4 ratio was excellent. If we want to take that as a metric, 2 6s and 1 4.
It was, yeah. So Punjab chasing. Do we want to talk about that? What went wrong?
Yeah, well,
Because you can. KL Rahul is a big problem.
Yeah, well, there's a few problems, aren't there, with it? It's problems that we've seen before. Problem number one, like we said, KL Rahul doing his Pac-Man impression, as you put it, and eating balls. The knock-on effect of that is that it puts pressure on the rest of the lineup. And related to that is Nicholas Puran coming in at number 3, which isn't really necessarily what you want, I don't think, and coming in the 13th over, and especially when suddenly you need to make them. You need the rest of your lineup to kick on and score from the get-go, because it's all very well setting a platform of runs, but when you've run out of time to score the rest of the runs, it's a little difficult. Aidan Markram has done quite well, I think, in this second half of the IPL. We weren't really sure whether he'd be actually that good for Punjab Kings, but I've been impressed by him. He's hit runs at a good rate. He's been pretty consistent, and I think he should probably come in at number 3 rather than the other way around. And
I think Puran's a really weird one in general, isn't he? It was so good last year, and this year he's been Glenn Maxwell from last year, basically, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Maybe it's just something at Punjab. There's just you bring in an overseas
something in the water.
They don't like it. Yeah, it doesn't make them happy. Maybe they're all a little bit annoyed that Moises Henriquez ever gets a game, and for that reason they play terribly on purpose. But Aidan Markram's been good.
Yeah, they nearly
Punjab,
did it in the end as well, didn't they? I mean, it was like 52 off 20 something that they needed, and it looked all done for, and then they only lost by a few runs.
Yes, yeah. It's Sharjah. It's you can even on a bad pitch you can chase that score.
You can twat it.
It's again. I think it's the pacing of the innings that you have to look at. It's they basically have one modern day opener in Mayank Agarwal who has to do all of the work for both of them. This is the team, and we've talked about this before, this is the team with the lowest average power play score in the tournament. So basically, at the end of the power play, Punjab always need to accelerate to catch up with what other teams
basically
are
always
to do
give
in
the other
power
team
play.
a head start.
Then they've got a problem, or they've had a problem this year, that one of the players that can do that, Nicholas Puran, hasn't done it once, and has been a complete disaster area, to be honest. I don't mind Aidan Markram. I'm not sure. You do wonder, don't you? I mean, just a thought experiment here. Would they have won this game, or would they be eliminated from the tournament as we speak if they'd kept hold of Glenn Maxwell?
Well, if they have
won this, would they have won this game? Could they have won the one where they failed to score 3 off the final over?
Yeah, if they'd kept hold of a Glenn Maxwell that's playing like he has this year, then 100%. Yeah.
Well, it's a high variance game, though, isn't it? Like, it's people are going to blow very hot and cold in T20 cricket, particularly if their job is to try and hit, 20% of the balls they face for 6. Like that's very hard to do.
Glenn Maxwell's about as hit or miss as it gets, because literally his game is to try and smash everything.
Yeah. So, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater because they have a string, a slub, basically. It's a string of average performances. And I think the same with Puran. He'll bounce back, but I don't know. And then I just think they get it wrong so often.
Comedy Kings.
Comedy Kings, they are. They could have been the King Legends. They could have been the Comeback Kings. Comedy Kings it is. They're out. RCB are guaranteed through, have a chance at second. And they deserve it. They've been a good team. And one of the better teams to watch, I think.
And actually, I think it was 25 or 24 again from Kohli, and he didn't hit, didn't strike that well. But I have seen some more intent from Virat Kohli in this half of the IPL than previously. I don't know if you would agree with that or not, but from what I've seen, I've seen him go for it a little bit more than he has done, and I like him opening at least.
Yeah, I think he's opening. He can't destroy the team as badly as he has done it in some previous IPLs. I say destroy the team, but like clog things up in that middle order. So I think opening is the best thing. It's interesting. I think he has actually started to hit some sixes in the second half of this tournament. I think he hit one or something like that in the first leg of the IPL. That's always good. Sixes are the if you're batting, they're the best thing you can do. So you should do more of them. And on that topic, if you count up the number of sixes hit by either side, RCB they managed 10, Punjab managed 7. What was the difference in the number of runs in this game? 6. It's exactly the difference in the number of sixes that they hit compared. Now, it's not as simple as saying, is it, that if the Kings, the Comeback Kings, the Comedy Kings, had hit a few more sixes, they'd have won. But they would have. I don't know. I don't see how you can lose this game and you're only 6 wickets down, and Shahrukh Khan doesn't come in till really late. If you're going to lose a cricket match, lose it in a blaze of glory. Don't
leave yourself wondering.
Like this.
Yeah,
and they have. They had a good team this year, Punjab. I think they had a genuinely good team, and they've just bottled it. Not bottled it even really. They've just not tried. That's the saddest thing. They haven't really tried.
And now they'll be binning off the whole team and starting again.
Probably, apart from King Legend. He'll be there next year. Who else will they keep? They'll probably keep Shami, even though he's about 707.
Agarwal. Yeah.
I think they've got to keep Agarwal.
Yeah.
But they might not.
Bishnoi.
They'll keep KL.
I think we talked about this actually the other week. Bishnoi, Agarwal. That's who we would keep.
Yeah. Right. So that's that. RCB through. That's good. I'm looking forward to seeing Kohli in the final. What? If someone asked this earlier, Max, we'll just do a few questions. What's a better narrative? Is it Dhoni wins the IPL as a specialist captain, or is it Kohli wins the IPL in his final year as captain?
I think Kohli, because
you think Kohli?
Because Dhoni's still got the fallback of the World Cup as the mentor. Although I suppose it would work the other way, wouldn't it? Because Kohli could win the World Cup as the captain, and Dhoni could win as his captain. So much of a muchness, really. If one does one and one does the other, that's the ultimate narrative. That's what we need.
Yes. Yeah. I think Dhoni might come back for another year. Go again.
Surely not.
No.
Surely not.
I think
surely this what we're seeing now is Dhoni testing to see whether he can still be useful with the bat, and he might be getting the answer.
Or maybe he's sandbagging to get people to think that he's worse than he is, so that CSK can release him into the auction pool. No one bids on him, and they can get him back cheap as a specialist captain next year.
Could be. Could be.
And then they keep it's 4D chess, Max.
Yeah.
You've got to remember that. That's what all these guys are playing.
Very big brain thinking.
They're not like me and you. They're elite sportsmen, and that's the kind of That's the kind of thing you have to bear in mind. There was a debut for an English player in this game, George Garton. He bowled all right. And somebody in the chat says, should Yuzi Chahal be going to the T20 World Cup?
Well, he's bowling like it now, isn't he? He had a bit of a dodgy few months, which is probably where Chahal's overtaken him. And they've dovetailed back again, I think, by the looks of things. Chahal's back in business.
I think I would rather have Rahul Chahal than Chahal, to be honest. I'm not saying they shouldn't both be in the squad, but my money, maybe he should be in instead of Ashwin. I think India's two best spinners are Chahal and Chakravarti, and I think they should be the two that definitely play. And then you've got Jadeja as a third spin option, and anyone else they take is just going to be a backup. That's why I think taking Ashwin's really weird, because if you take someone like that, you sort of have to play them. It's
well, I mean, you say that. I took him all the way to England and didn't bother.
Right, an IPL team of players we actually like, Max. Can you do that off the top of your head?
Padakal,
yeah, he's in. I'd say Venki Iyer.
Yep.
Can open the batting with him,
so.
or I'd even take Gaikwad. I like Gaikwad.
Yeah. I think we can have Tripathi in.
Tripathi's good. Tripathi's
good fielder as well, mostly, until he throws them all over the boundary.
And then I like Glenn Maxwell at 4, so that's 4 players.
Yeah.
Number 5, who do you like? Who bats number 5?
Who have we got?
Do you know what? I like Kyron Pollard.
Yeah.
It doesn't really have to be a batting order that makes sense, but I think Kyron Pollard is full value, isn't he?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mega every time he plays.
Do we have to do 4 overseas? Do we have to do it properly?
If you want to.
Yeah.
I was going to say Hardik as number 6.
Yeah, I like a good Hardik. Jadeja is automatically in there. We already said Jadeja.
But... You don't really even need, to be honest, any overseas. We've got loads of overseas spots now. We've got 4 left. One of them's got to go to Shardul Thakur.
No, we've got 3 left. You said Glenn Maxwell.
I mean like 4 spots.
Oh, 4 spots. Right. Yeah.
Okay. So, 8 Shardul Thakur.
Yep.
That's a no-brainer, really. Final 3. I like Bishnoi. Yeah, Bishnoi can play.
Bishnoi's in.
Players we like, 11. Bumrah, he can play because I like him. And then
we haven't even said Rashid Khan.
Oh well, you know what? I'm not so sure. I'm not too hot on Rashid Khan.
No,
he's all right, isn't he? Do you know what? I'm sick of hearing how good Rashid Khan is. Right. I know how good he is.
Okay.
We
can leave out Rashid Khan. That's fine. So who's the last bowler?
Don't know. That's pretty difficult. There's quite a lot of guys.
I like Avesh Khan.
Do you?
Yeah.
I was going to say Chakravarti. I like Chakravarti.
Yeah. So there's too many people we like. We can't fit them into an 11, a team of 11.
We could do a squad. We probably need a fast bowler, don't we? Harshal or Siraj? You know what? Siraj irritated me a bit on that test tour.
Yeah. And Harshal's a tail ender bully.
Yes. Yeah. So they don't get to play.
Nah.
Rabada's pretty fun, isn't he?
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd like Rabada if I met him, but I like watching him play cricket. So he's in there.
Right, there we go. Bumrah and Rabada. That's nasty.
That was Bumrah and Rabada. Yeah, that's you got hot pace. That'll be a good team. That's the end of the cricket podcast for this show. We will be back on Wednesday with Daniel Norcross from the BBC. Which will mean something to some of you and not to others.
And may or may not increase the professionalism of the episode.
No, it won't. He'll be drinking wine and smoking cigarettes. That's why people love him. See you in 2 days' time.
Bye for now.
Bye.
Recording stopped.